from truth. The real person who accepts the reality that God gave us the way it is a person that goes out into the world, as I was describing, and learns to confront obstacles and using his resources and his wisdom to shape them, but he also has to bend and to shape himself. And in that give and take, as I said this too, it's all about self-discovery. You find yourself in God's creation by finding out what your limits you began with, and what kind of determination you have to push the limits farther. But ultimately, it's ultimately you end up accepting. You must end up accepting that the world is a confined, defined place, and you have a certain place as a single being within it, a very small place, but you can occupy the whole cosmos with your spirit if you accept that little place and learn to love all the things around you as potentially an opportunity for you to reach out a little farther. All that stuff is closed to you. You're all shut up in a tight little box if you're refusing reality and fantasizing about this other place, and your ears are plugged and your eyes are closed. Don't do that. And in terms of baseball, a couple of connections that I want to make quickly. Naturally, this video is going to be posted in connection with smallballsuccess.com, and we're all about giving advice to kids who were born with kind of smaller than usual frames for playing the game of baseball. So one thing that you obviously have to accept with baseball is that your body's a certain type, and that's what you're going to be stuck with. You're going to have to learn to what position are you best suited to field. You're probably not going to play first base if you're 5'6", are you? You're probably not going to be a middle of the order home run hitter at that height. So learn how to hit in order to be a table setter guy for the big guys. This is confronting reality, recognizing your limits, but also building on them and extending upon them, discovering yourself, and also benefiting those around you. Baseball allows you to do that, but it doesn't reward people who fantasize about what they might be. Some have tried to change their natural physique. In the 90s, will forever, those baseball fans of us, be disappointed by the surrender of some of our favorite players to the temptation of steroids and performance-enhancing drugs. It's not fair to the fans, and it's not fair to you yourself. Now, maybe if you're making $10 million a year, you think, well, I'll live with it. But I'm taking money out of the equation here. I'm thinking that if you love the game of baseball, it's probably not because you think you're going to become a millionaire. Let's talk about moral and spiritual realities. Performance-enhancing drugs are not going to allow you to confront your temptation, your limitations, and to work within them. I am pretty sure that I know of some kids, it's hard to prove this kind of thing, but I think their parents probably had them on the syringe before they were out of elementary school. They were probably, kids don't even get tested for drugs at that age. And of course, that's the parents' fault, and that's just awful. You can't even believe the parent, but suppose the parent in his twisted mind thinks he's doing something for the kid. He's going to make him into a superstar. This leads to a lot of other behavior on the field, such as I was talking about originally when I made my comment about pseudo-Christians. The coach who, in my son's last college tournament, had his pitcher out there throwing at our best hitter. And I know he was throwing at him because the kid batted left-handed. And this right-hander was not just whizzing him with fastballs high and inside. I'm sorry, he was exactly doing that. He wasn't just pulling the slider a little too far. He was aiming fastballs at him. So the coach was telling him to do that, and at the end of the game, I heard the coach tell another player, well, we won. That's what matters. And these are grown men who are observed by their pupils, by their players. They're showing them, yeah, this is how you act if you're a Christian. If you're a Christian ball player, you say your little jingle at the beginning of the tournament, oh, I believe in God and country and blah, blah, blah. My son started doing that in Little League. It was like the Cub Scout oath or whatever. Okay, yeah, whatever. And then you tell your kids to throw at the opposing batter, or you do as one of my son's worst ever coach did to him. And he was just a little guy. He was the youngest, smallest guy on his team at the time. And the coach told him to stand right up on top of the plate. If that's the black, the small boys were supposed to almost have their toes on it. Why would they do that? Well, because they get hit and get on base, or because the pitcher would become so disoriented that he'd lose the strike zone, or maybe be afraid of hitting the kid. And after 12, 15 games under that coach, my son was ready to quit baseball forever. I'm glad that he didn't, but that guy was a jerk. And he took the same little Christian lip service oath that all the other coaches did. If you just talk the talk and then you haul off and have your kids doing things like that, if that's the example that you're going to set for them, it would be better if you never uttered God's name in their presence. It's better just to do nothing, to say nothing, than to be that kind of hypocrite. So now, a Christian doesn't have to be a wuss or a pushover. You know that there are times in the game of baseball where you push the rules right to the edge, and if the umpire, if you're doing that balk move to first base, if the umpire doesn't catch it and you get away with it, you're going to repeat it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about doing things that distort your contribution, that distance you from yourself, from who you are. So that you don't learn the game of baseball, you don't learn yourself and how you fit into the game of baseball. There's a difference, say, between a runner at second base stealing signs from the catcher and somehow flashing them to the hitter, and what the old Brooklyn Dodgers seem to have been doing when the Giants win the pennant. Yeah, that was the Giants that were the Giants in the Polo Ground. The Polo Grounds were stealing. They had some guy out there with binoculars, and he was telegraphing the signs to the third base coach through some kind of electronic system. And this is back what was it, the early 1950s? And that's cheating. You can see the difference between that. It's not, you're not being resourceful, you're just really shortchanging yourself and everybody else. It's a spiritual issue. It's a Christian issue. I want you to think about that. I may not have sold you in this short video, but you're probably not going to get paid big bucks to play baseball when you hang up your cleats. And I hope when that moment comes, you can at least look back at what you did with satisfaction, inner spiritual satisfaction, because it was an adventure of self-discovery and because you know that you played fair.